Okay, it's time to use some elementary concepts in order to add and subtract rational expressions. You remember way back in what, 5th grade when you learned this stuff, 4th grade? In order to add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. For example, if I have 2 sevenths and I add it to 3 sevenths, the denominator stays the same, right? Because I have 2 parts of the 7 and I have 3 parts of the 7. So now I have 5 parts of the total 7, right? So 5 sevenths. Denominator always stays the same. We don't add the denominator. I can do the same thing with my rational expressions. So for example here, I have 4b over 15 plus 16b over 15. Well, they're both over 15, so all I have to do, keep the same denominator and add up top. So 4b plus 16b, which gives us 20b over 15. And now we just apply our rules of simplifying, and 5 goes into both. 5 goes into 24 times, 5 goes into 15 3 times. So our simplified form is 4b over 3. And you're done. Okay, so you just need a common denominator. Coming about that common denominator can be tricky at times. For example here, I have the same common denominator, so I don't need to worry about anything. But this subtraction sign is going to cause us some fits here. So what I can do, I can put it all over the one denominator, x minus 3, right? You just need that common denominator. Well, then up top I have here's the key. I'd put everything in parentheses. I have a 7x plus 9 minus x minus 5. Okay, that minus sign is going to make a difference, isn't it? That's why I want to put this in parentheses, because I'm really distributing that minus sign. So I can drop my parentheses on the first part, 7x plus 9. But here, I have a minus x and a minus negative 5, right? So a minus x and a minus negative 5, which is a positive 5. We got to distribute that minus sign. That's the only trick to this guy. We have the same denominator, so that's nice, but just don't forget to distribute that minus sign. And now we combine like terms up top. A 7x and a negative x become a 6x, and I got a 9 plus a 5 for plus 14 over x minus 3. But we want to simplify these guys, so we're going to get them all the way in factored form. So if you notice up top, I can factor out a 2. So I'm going to bring out that 2, divide each term by 2. So I'm left with 3x plus 7, right? Because 6 divided by 2 and 14 divided by 2. And that's all over x minus 3. Nothing else cancels. So I'm done. Okay? So the biggest thing is, get your common denominator first. In this case, I had the same denominator. So I go ahead and put it all into one fraction. But just be cautious if you have a minus sign, because you got to distribute that subtraction symbol. Okay? And then go through and simplify all the way, just like we have been doing. Okay, let's look at this addition problem. So you notice now we don't have a common denominator. So I'm going to have to get a common denominator. And if you remember back in the day when you had like 1/2 plus 2/3, to get the common denominator, one way to do it is I could just multiply the two denominators, right? Take 2 times 3. And so my denominator is 6. I'm really just going to write 2 times 3 here. Right? And so what I do is, to get 1/2, I'm going to need to multiply by 3 to get it to its common denominator. So I got to do 3 over 3. In the 2/3, I got to multiply the bottom by a 2 to get it to a 6. So I multiply by 2 over 2. So really, I'm just multiplying the denominators to get my common denominator. So I'm taking a b times a b plus 1. Well, that means I got to take this left fraction times a b plus 1, right? Because b times b plus 1. So I got to do b plus 1 over b plus 1. And the right side, I got to multiply by a b on bottom, right? Because b times b plus 1 gives me that denominator. So I got to do b over b here. Okay? And we're going to put it all over one denominator. So up top, I have a b plus 1 times a b plus 3. I'm going to put that in parentheses. That's important. b plus 1 times a b plus 3. Okay, I got my plus sign. And like we said before, I always put parentheses here, so b minus 5 times a b. Times a b. Okay? If I look at this, I cannot cancel this b plus 1 with this b plus 1 down here because there is a plus sign here. Okay? I cannot do that. There would have to be another b plus 1 out here in order to do that. And they would all cancel. But I can't do that. Okay? So let's look at this. What I need to do is, I need to run through my FOIL, right? I got to distribute. So in this top one, this b plus 1 times b plus 3, I got to distribute b times b times 3, 1 times b, 1 times 3, to give myself b squared plus a 3b plus a 1b plus 3, right? 1 times 3. And let's distribute this b over here as well. So b times b and b times negative 5. And I got to put my plus sign down here. So I have a b squared minus a 5b. And that is all over b times b plus 1. Well, it's combined like terms up top. So I got a b squared and a b squared for a 2b squared. I got a 3b and a b and a negative 5b. So 4b minus 5b for a minus b, minus 1b minus b. And I'm still left with my plus 3. And that's all over b times b plus 1. Okay? And now I want to see if I can factor this top quadratic here. So remember, I have a coefficient in front of the b squared, so I'm going to take 2 times 3, which is 6, and find factors of that add up to a negative 1, my number in front of the b. Well, there are none, because I'm going to need 2 negatives, aren't I? And there's no factors of 6 that are going to add up to negative 1. So it does not factor. So that's my final answer. But I don't want to leave this in factored form at the end. So I'm going to go 2b squared minus b plus 3. And I'm going to go ahead and distribute here. B squared plus 1. Or b squared plus b, my fault, right? B times b and b times 1. So here is my final answer. If that top part would have factored and I could have canceled b plus 1s, hey, that's great. But it doesn't factor, so I'm done. I'm simplified right there. So it takes a little bit of work, doesn't it? All right, if I get something like this, you're probably thinking my common denominator is going to be 11 minus x times x minus 11. You could do that. It's going to add a lot of work for you. If I notice, in my left fraction, I have a positive 11 and a negative x. In my right fraction, I have just the opposites. I have a negative 11 and a positive x. So all I have to do to get one to the other one is multiply the bottom by a negative 1. So watch this. If I multiply by a negative 1 on the bottom here, which means I got to do it up top, don't I? Let's see what this turns into. Well, up top I have a negative 3x. On the bottom, I just distribute. So I'm going to end up with a negative 11 and a plus x. Well, if I flip them around, a positive x and a minus 11, now I have the same denominator, don't I? So if you notice you got the same terms, just different signs, just multiply one of the fractions by negative 1 over negative 1. And it's going to save you a lot of time. Because now I can put this all over the same denominator and take negative 3x plus negative 5x, which gives us what? Negative 8x over x minus 11. And we're done. Nothing cancels, right? Because I have that minus sign in here, so I cannot cancel x's. Right? If it was 11 times x, I could cancel my x's. But since there's a minus sign, I cannot cancel it. That's my final answer. Negative 8x over x minus 11. And lastly, you might actually have to factor before you find a common denominator. So if I look, this guy's factored, this guy's factored, this guy's factored. But right here, I can factor, right? Factors of 9 that add up to negative 6. And in that case, it'd be what? Negative 3 and negative 3. So x minus 3 times x minus 3. I'm going to replace that, right? Well, if I look at it, all I need to do to this right guy is multiply by another x minus 3. Because here's my common denominator. X minus 3 times x minus 3. So this guy just needs another x minus 3 over here. So my common denominator is x minus 3 times x minus 3. And up top, this one stayed the same, so I just bring it down. So I got an x plus 7. I got a plus sign. And I have x plus 3 times x minus 3. Remember, I can't cancel x minus 3's because I have adding up here. I got adding up here, so I can't cancel x minus 3's. So what I should do is start simplifying things. Okay? So all I want to do is go through my FOIL here on this side. So I'm going to rewrite this first part. So I have x plus 7 plus, well, I got x times x, which is x squared. X times negative 3. Well, this is my difference of squares, isn't it? I got a negative 3x and then a positive 3x. Those cancel each other. And then a 3 times a negative 3, which is a minus 9. Our difference of squares. And then down below, I have x minus 3 times x minus 3. Well, let's combine some of this stuff. I have a 7 plus a negative 9, which gives me a negative 2. And let's write that in standard form. So x squared plus x minus 2. I'm going to rewrite that up here. X squared plus x minus 2. Okay, I'm going to see if this factors at all. See if I can find factors of negative 2 that add up to 1. Well, in that case, I have a 2 and a negative 1, don't I? So this is going to factor. So let's factor this. So I got an x plus 2 and an x minus 1 all over x minus 3 squared. Or x minus 3 times x minus 3. Well, none of those cancel, do they? Okay. So yeah, feel free. You can leave it like this, or you can expand it back out into what we had here and go through your FOIL. Okay, I'm okay with this guy though. I'm okay with that, right? As long as it's simplified. So even on that last example, 2 times ago, I'm okay if you'd have left it just like this. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. All right. So it's just about getting that common denominator and taking the time up top to simplify. Here's your assignment. We'll take a look at this in the next day. All right. Thank you for watching. Deuces.